Yo, what's up? What's up, everybody? So, man. Let me know y'all can see me and can hear me. So I'm trying some different things. It's a new year. I haven't gone live since last October, right? So yeah, it's been a while, and been doing some traveling. Hotels have sucky internet, so wasn't able to do my show like I wanted to. But it's a new year, right? And we're getting the show kicked back off right, man, with an amazing guest, Roberto Blake. He's on the stream with us tonight, and it's just phenomenal, man. So first of all, Happy New Year. Haven't seen you guys since the new year, and I want to say thank you for riding with me, sticking with me. All the DMs I get from people like, hey, man, get your show back up and running. Appreciate the encouragement. It really goes a long way, man. So sometimes when we're these creators, it's like in the creator economy, we can feel like we're like on an island by ourselves sometimes. So it's just good to know that you got a group of people rallying behind you, supporting you, and likewise. So got all that out the way. My name is Eliseo. Welcome to Content Ecosystem. This is my channel here on YouTube. We talk about content creation and monetization and everything in between. So I started a show called Creators on the Come Up. I've been blessed to have some amazing people on the show. Let me make sure. Yeah, y'all can hear me. Okay, cool. I'm going in there. Cool. So without further ado, we're just going to get right to it, man. Right to the show. So let's get into it. Yo.
We live. Creators on the Come Up.
Cool. If y'all could do me a favor real quick, go ahead and share the stream. That would be dope. Share it in your groups. Share it with your friends. We're going to learn some valuable information tonight from one of the top YouTubers in the world. I won't even say YouTubers because that sounds like it's like degrading a little bit to some people, even though it's not to us. But, you know, creative entrepreneurs, like multiple six-figure earner and just conglomerate of information. And he's just a wealth of knowledge. So share somebody to the stream. Let's get some beats going, man. You know, I don't like no dry stream. So, man, shout out. Let's go ahead and get him on the screen right now, and then we'll do some shout outs here in the comments. Yo, Roberto, what's up, brother?
Hey, how's it going, Eliseo?
Good, man. Let me get myself here on the screen here. All right, man. So I haven't messed around with the program, ashamed to say, in quite a while, and they have like
that's nothing wrong with that.
They've had like 10 updates, dog, and like I don't even know what to click on no more, Ecamm. Man. So let me just
good on Ecamm for upgrading their software.
Yeah, they stay on top of it, man. So let's just do some quick shout outs. While we got you on the stream, we got to, you know, when you welcome somebody to your house, you got to show love when you welcome them to the house. And then we're just going to get right to the meat and potatoes, man, because I'm fanboying right now. I'm super stoked to have you on, man. So I want to definitely make sure we take advantage of your time here.
No, that's super flattering. You can ask me anything you want.
Let's get it. Shout out. We have Credit Dave in the building. We have Brent Collins in the building, man. We have Andrew Kahn in the building. Man, we have DJ Strick in the building. What's up, man? We have Monty Weaver in the building with a super chat, man. Look at that. You know how many rice and beans that's going to buy for my kids? I appreciate that, man. I don't take it for granted, man. Straight up. We have none other than Tom Buck in the building, man. Super honored to have Tom Buck on the stream like everybody else. We have my brother from another. His name is Eliseo. I never met another Eliseo till I met this guy. So super glad to have him on the stream. I see you, man. Sisters talking on the stream. Looking good, man. Cool. All right, great. So as you know, I be sweating. I'm just a sweaty guy. So the lights are on.
Oh, you're fine. I mean, these lights kill us. So
I know, right? People, they don't be knowing. They just don't be knowing.
No, they do not.
So cool. All right. Well, let's go ahead and I was on the wrong. See, look, I was on the wrong screen putting the comments up. I have a screen specifically for comments, and I was on the wrong one. But let's give a shout out to our sponsors for this show: Ecamm, TubeBuddy, and IK Multimedia. They sponsor this show. We really appreciate them getting behind the show. And yeah, if you need anything from any of those companies, I'm cool with them. Hit me up, and we'll get you a free trial, or we'll get you whatever you need with those companies, man. So shout out to the sponsors, man. So without further ado, man, we have none other than Roberto Blake on the stream. Like I said, I'm super honored. So when I first wanted to get into like YouTube and just content creation, if you go to YouTube and just start typing in specific questions of like what you're looking for, I guarantee you he's going to be on that first discovery page, if not one of the first videos that you find for like how to do this or how to figure this out as it relates to YouTube and content creation and things like that, and just the whole business side of the content creation. That's what I like about Roberto. It's not so much, of course, it's creative, but he really gets into a lot of the business things that a lot of the creators don't really get into. Like I was on a stream with him, he was talking about taxes, and he bought a house, and he was talking about that process, and it's like, man, I love that, because so many creators just like totally skip over that part. And it's like, so without stealing any more of his thunder, I'm gonna let him introduce himself in his own words. And then
no, you're doing great.
You're doing great. And we're just gonna get right into it. So for people who may not know who you are, Roberto, let them know who you are, man.
So my name is Roberto Blake. I'm a creative entrepreneur. For those of you who don't know what a creative entrepreneur is, it's somebody who is an entrepreneur who specializes in intellectual property and talent, whether it's their own or somebody else's. So somebody that's also in the field of creativity, creative services that's expanding. It's what we now call the creator economy. I may have been one of the first people to coin that phrase, actually, back as early as maybe 2016, 2017, but it's been popularized since then by great people. I think that Colin and Samir probably popularized that. They're a great channel. I love those guys.
Yeah.
So shout out to Colin and Samir, their show. And I am probably most well known as a YouTube educator that has 500,000 subscribers. It's literally only a third of my content. I've done over 1,500 videos. I think over 1,000 of them on my main channel are still public. Over 60 episodes of my podcast, and that has its own YouTube channel now that's doing wonderful.
Wow.
And I am the author of the upcoming book, Create Something Awesome: How to Start Profiting from Your Passion, the Creator Economy. So I'm doing a lot of things here. I've probably
take a breath, brother, because you
almost 100 public speaking engagements around these topics, around helping people start creative careers. So that's what I've been doing.
Man,
doing YouTube for about a decade. That's
lit, man. We have so much to talk about, and feel free, if you feel like going a certain direction with like something, maybe you see a question or something, feel free to just jump right in there and address something or answer something. Because we're just, like I told you, we're just going to have a free flowing conversation. I felt like we get more value out of those.
Yeah, no, it's whatever you want to do. I'm happy to talk about it.
Cool, sweet. So how I first want to start this off is, well, first of all, thank you for everything you do for the creator economy. I love how you said I probably was one of the first, if not the first, to coin that, because now it's like a cliche type thing to say, people, creator economy, so like talk about that a little bit. Like how did you come up with that? Or like, I know
partly,
go ahead.
I thought it was a better idea or a way to conceptualize something back in maybe 2011, I want to say. Gary Vee wrote a book called The Thank You Economy. Wow. And that book was probably his least best perform. It's still a great performing book, still a bestseller, but it was probably his most underperforming book out of all of the 6 books that he's written. It probably sold the least copies. Wow. And it's his favorite one. But what I felt was, it wasn't describing the gig economy. It wasn't describing like fully what would become the creator economy. And the thing is, the Thank You Economy was more about his personal thesis around the concept of giving and gratitude and his philosophy there. And it was a very philosophy heavy book, but it wasn't really, I think, encapsulating what the market was for the ecosystem of the thing that he was talking about. And there was also no identity around this, because he was talking about people who ultimately, in order to participate in what he was phrasing as the thank you economy, I'm like, it doesn't work if you don't make things, if you don't create stuff. If you don't create stuff, there's not this exchange of value that's happening. Something has to be created in order for it to be exchanged in value and for people to have reciprocity and any kind of feeling about it. So this doesn't exist without creators. So I just was like, okay, this isn't gig workers. This is about creators. This is about people who are creating content, making it accessible in these platforms largely for free. These are about people who are working behind the scenes to allow these things to exist and creating value in that way. It's like, this is the creator economy.
Wow.
So like I expanded on a what I believe was the thesis that Gary Vee came up with in 2009 and Crush It, articulated in 2011 in the Thank You Economy.
Wow.
Wrote the playbook for it, I think in 2013 13, 14 in his book, Jab, 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 Right Hook, which also stands for give, 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 ask. And then he demonstrated it in the Ask Gary V show, and then the follow-up book to that show, and then so on and so forth, and then a sequel, Crushing It. I think that these ideas, and I saw it with other friends and marketers. I saw it in a book called The Content Code, which is written by another friend of mine. I saw like people trying to articulate something, and I don't think that they appreciated that it was an ecosystem, and that it was in itself a subsection of the economy, because most of the people talking about this did not have a creative services background.
Facts.
And I did. As a graphic designer and photographer, I understood that this was representing a new way of thinking about entrepreneurship, self-employment, gig work, and the intersectionality of creativity, technology, and business. And people didn't understand that intersectionality and its evolution and what it would represent and why it was coming. But I've been on the ground floor of it. I'm 38 years old. I've seen this my whole life. I've understood this my whole life and realized that these three things will ultimately, in the long run, be what matters for the next 100 years or more. Because we're of a certain age. We got to see the evolution of technology. We got to see what the internet revolution did. We got to literally see the evolution of convenience and commerce revolve around us getting from 8-tracks and records and
MP3
cassettes to digital. And we saw the invention of the iPod. We understood what that represented. We saw the shift of Apple like marketing to geeks and creators, and then actually bridging the gap with them of consumers. And the gateway to that was music. We saw Amazon evolve that with books. We saw Microsoft and its creation of like the operating system, and that translate as well to consumerism. Windows. So we started seeing this gap being bridged between people who make things and people who consume things. We started to see the scale of that with digital, scale of that with the internet. We saw this e-commerce change the world. We saw what MP3s and live streaming services, Netflix, we saw all of that. And when I saw that, I realized there's the intersectionality of people who create art now and the technology that allows it to scale into being a viable commerce thing that would end the era of starving artists in perpetuity on a long enough timeline. We witnessed all of it, but not everyone interpreted it the way I did.
Wow, man, you dropped so many gems in there. I got to go back. I love how you keep calling it like ecosystem, because that's my brand, content ecosystem. But it truly is like an ecosystem, and I love that. And one thing that I definitely want to step down on is just how you said you understood the services side of it. I think that's where a lot of creators, including myself, we get caught up. We understand the creative side of it. Like we can wake up and be creative. That's easy, right? But then how do you productize that? How do you really service that in a way that, like you said, your intellectual property can come back to you and, money wise. So like, can you speak to that a little bit? Like, what was your thought process?
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people skip steps, but I'm 38. There wasn't like a viable way to monetize creativity until recently, to be honest. And I was there for it because I went into freelancing very young, but I also got a career in graphic design and web design. And I worked at a job like as one does, and then later marketing as one does. And then I left on my own because, in the 2010s, writings on the wall, the beginnings of social media, the beginnings of scalable platforms. And I realized I don't need an employer to make $2,000 to $3,000 a month. Wow. I can do that. And because if that's all I'm making, I'm like, oh, I can do that on my own. And it's math. And the thing is, people don't realize this because watch this. So I worked at a company. I had been a web and graphic designer at the company. I'd been a marketing manager at the company. And I thought to myself, it's like, okay, in a 30-day period, how many customers do I solve problems for? Oh, what type of company are we? Oh, all of our customers are basically online small business owners doing e-commerce and doing things like that. And I'm solving problems for dozens of customers in a month, sometimes 100 customers in a month.
Wow.
So over 1,000 potential people or thousands of people in a year. Well, okay, these are all business owners. well, how much money do they all have in budgets to solve these problems? They have sometimes to make, because they need to make a living. When they have a problem, they're willing to spend whatever it takes to solve a problem that they have because they need to stay in business. And if they have a problem, solving that problem keeps them in business, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, how many people do I need to solve problems for? And how valuable is that to them in order to make the same living I have now? Because surely that means, like, because wait a minute, I'm servicing well over 100 people at some point in the course of a month, sometimes hundreds. This is insanity. If I directly solve a problem for anybody who has these problems, like I could solve this problem one time, and it's valued, especially based on like knowing what our own prices were. I'm like, solving this problem directly that I'm capable of solving is valued at what I'm doing for 40 hours a week, and it doesn't take 40 hours to solve this problem. It takes less than 5. And yet it would pay out what I'm working 40 hours a week for.
Yes.
But I can solve the problem in 5. And I'm solving this problem multiple times over and over and over again. And this is what the problem, like, again, but the thing is, to know how to do that, well, I had to go through the process. The job is my apprenticeship. It is my training. But I'm not a Padawan anymore at that point. You know, I'm not a learner anymore. I'm solving the problems. I'm no longer a learner. I have the abilities. I'm a knight. So I'm like, it's time to take the show on the road and be a mercenary.
Take the show on,
so I'm gonna just go out and get bounties. It's like screw the Jedi Temple. It's like I'm going out here. I'm Boba Fett out here. You know, I'm just a simple man making my way in the galaxy. And then so, I mean, it's just plain old math.
Yeah.
You get to a point, you do a solo entrepreneur, you realize, okay, cool. I've made up the cash flow from doing what I did for my employer by going direct to the market. Because here's the difference between an employee and an employer. And by this, the first level of this is self-employment. Before you start employing other people and become an actual entrepreneur or scale the business, because you can do it one of two ways. You can scale through automation and be an entrepreneur, or you can scale through leverage or be an entrepreneur, or you can do both. As a solo entrepreneur, a self-employed person, to someone who's created a job for themselves, let's say, right? The answer there is, okay, here's the difference. An employer has ownership of the access and relationship to the customer. They have ownership of the resources by which the job gets done, what people like to refer to when they're being like pretentious as the means of production, whatever. And then they also have ownership and responsibility over delivering on the work and the legal liability and everything that goes with that. So they have responsibility they have ownership of the relationship, ownership of the resources, and ownership of the responsibility. And that's what entitles them to the lion's share of the revenue. Yeah. This is the most simple explanation of entrepreneurship, and the difference between being an employee versus an employer is who has ownership of what. And the thing is, if you want ownership of the majority of the revenue, you would have to have ownership of the majority of the legal liability and responsibility.
Facts.
You'd have to have ownership of the resources that produce the ability to do the work. You'd have to have ownership of the relationship with the customer. And the thing is, as an employee, you do not have ownership of any of those. So of course you don't make the lion's share of the revenue. Why would you? That is what people can say that's unfair all they want, but it's practical, because if you don't own anything, then you don't get to own the outcome either. And the thing is, in order to do that, there's both investment and risk involved. So as an employee, what I learned to do is, one, I didn't compete with my company, but I did freelance and still side hustle on the side because I needed extra money. So I was doing like photography and do other things. So I knew I had the capacity to sell. I knew I had the capacity to get relationships and own relationships. And I had relationships I'd built outside of the company in a non-related way that I had ownership of. So I got my own relationships. I earned the right to my own clients. I had my own resources outside of work. The job was borrowing my camera gear sometimes for stuff. So I had that. And what I also did was I said, here is my company's cheap as hell. Here's the resources they invested in me in terms of hardware. I'm going to save up all my money. I'm going to invest in better or equal resources, hardware and software, to do the same level of work and the same capacity of work or better. So I invested and did that. I didn't go out and buy Jordans. And so the thing is, I did that. And then what else did I do? I was like, okay, I have to take responsibility for the work I do. And so I have to start thinking about what owning that responsibility looks like. What does it mean to be a business owner? What does it mean to be legally responsible? What does it mean to deliver for people? I had familiarity with contracts. I had familiarity with client services and everything that goes with that. So that's what being a solo entrepreneur is. So going out on my own, I'm like, okay, I can get clients on my own, and I know how to sell. It's like, because what I do as a kid, I did retail in the kid as a mall. So even though I'm an introvert, I knew enough to sell. I know my subject matter. I'm an introvert. It exhausts me, but I have the gift of gab. It just exhausts me. It's fine. It's like I'd rather be alone in my room working on a project, doing art, sketching, writing. I prefer, like, if I have a choice between that and spending time with people. But if I can spend time with people that value and respect me, it's not nearly as draining. It's not nearly as draining. So that's cool. You can be an introvert and you can have outgoing qualities if you have the relationship and the conversation on your own terms. Then it's not nearly as draining. That's all. That's the difference. So so I understood how to build my own relationships, the resources, and the way the work gets done. I had processes that were better than the ones that the company had. A lot of times I had to fight them on doing things the right way or the new way or the best way, versus they were beholden to the way we've always done it before you came along or whatever. So that was great. I was able to come up with my own systems of doing things, and I was able to innovate. And with resources that I invest in, I wasn't beholden to whatever they wanted to allow me to have or what they wanted to pay for. I was able to buy what suited me and what I thought was appropriate or the best that I could afford.
Nice.
And then on that, educating myself on how to be responsible and how to maintain the client relationship, how to protect myself in terms of the legal responsibilities. Well, that's education. So by doing all those things, that's the transition. And the thing is, when it comes to them being a content creator, it's largely very similar thing. You have to own the relationship with the audience. You have to have the resources to produce the content that allows that relationship to exist and build it. And you have to take responsibility for everything that you're putting out into the world. So, it's like, that's what it is. And that entitles you to the revenues that come from that.
Wow. That's a mouthful, man. Just real quick, I am curious. Like, what is your background? Like, where are you from?
Well, my family is from Panama, so I'm like, first generation.
Oh,
so there's that. Yep. And
so that's where Roberto comes in at.
Yeah. I'm Roberto Enrique Blake II. So
Roberto Enrique, I would have never guessed it, guy.
Yeah.
No, speaking in Spanish.
I did up until my grandmother passed away, because that's how I talked to her. She could speak English perfectly fine. She was actually, when she worked at the hospital, she was an unofficial translator. But I just have a mental block on it that I'll eventually get over. Just because she passed away, and that was my connection to that. So
gotcha. I think I remember you talking about that on the stream before. So yeah.
And I was born in Brooklyn. I live here in Atlanta. My father was a Marine. I've traveled all over. So, my background professionally, I came from the world of web and graphic design, and the beginnings of the social media marketing, but a lot of traditional marketing, a lot of print on demand, media buying, Google AdWords certified, OOH, which is out of home advertising. So billboards, wild postings, things of that nature.
Wow.
When I worked at an ad agency for a while, I did broadcast advertising. So a lot of that was sports media. It's stuff you would know. Stuff like back in the old days, it was like the Berto Tees fight. HBO was the client when I worked in New York. HBO was the agency's biggest relationship. The head of the company had a personal relationship with the then president of HBO at the time. Oh, nice. So we got a lot of HBO sports work. Our VP had a relationship with Madison Square Garden, so we got work from them and Rainbow Media at the time. So there's a lot of things like Big Ten networks, Big Ten icons.
Wow.
So it was a lot of the graphics for that, both digital and OOH. I did a lot of the when they were doing the Big Ten icons, I did a lot of the newspaper design for promoting that and the specials that they were on TV. I did the Alexander Bradley fight, the Bert Ortiz fight. I did the digital print production on the Margarito Pacquiao fight.
Wow.
The poster for the Lombardi documentary, some of the graphics for the Dennis Miller HBO special. So,
Oh, nice.
the digital print production for the Bruce Springsteen doc that HBO did. This was like years and years and years ago.
Yeah.
So that was the advertising portion of my career, mostly as a graphic designer, and where I learned a lot about the entertainment and media side of the industry.
Yeah.
It's also where I got more of my confidence when it came to presentations and pitching and going into like these very big meetings. I think my favorite was the season 1 Game of Thrones meeting for the mailer campaign. The mailer campaign. I actually came up with something really clever because I was one of those people who read the books before the show ever came out, and that's part of the reason that we got the gig for the mailer campaign. And I had this idea. I was like, okay, you have the mailer thing, and it says this spring on the outside, and then on the inside, and it has all the flowers and all the stuff, and then it's like you open it up, and then it's winter is coming. So it's this spring, winter is coming. I had the idea for the mailer opening up like that. And they thought that was really clever.
Nice.
And we were able to land that partly because I was able to impress them with my knowledge of the books.
Yeah.
So being a nerd has its advantages sometimes.
Nerd. Man, we have so much to get into. We actually have, let me see comments on the screen. We have a few questions. And I want to get to those in a minute, but I have to ask you because I think this is a mindset. I'm pretty sure you coined this. I've heard this everywhere else since then. I mean, everybody says it now, right? Can you guess what the next slogan that you came up with that I think everybody just kind of ran
Make 100 crappy videos.
Yes.
Make 100 crappy videos. I coined that. Yes.
So
and everybody else has popularized it since then. Yeah.
So
every big creator has said it since. Yeah.
Yes. So real quick, I mean, that was an epiphany moment for me though. Like I came across one of your videos, and what I love about you is you're kind of like a no nonsense type person. Like you're really practical. Like you don't really get into the emotional side of this thing. Like you just kind of and I love that. Right.
Largely doesn't there's a place for it, but it's overplayed, and a lot of people try to leverage the community's emotional connection for relatability and likability. And I get it. And some of them, they're not doing that in any malicious way, by the way. And that's also just how people end up being liked that way. I was never popular in high school, so I don't give a crap. So too late now. But what I've learned is through the concept of stoicism and being like a track and cross country runner, which you literally just have to be indifferent to your emotions to run cross country and just I signed up for suffering. That's all it is. Okay, cool. Show up and suffer. That's what we're doing. I ran
cross country for one season. I was like, no.
So you understand. You understand. It's like, suffering. That's what you've signed up for. That's what you've chosen. It's like, man, you've chosen hardship. Congratulations. So yeah, it's it's funny. Like everyone remembers and cheers for sprinters, even the Olympics. No one can name a long distance runner.
Wow.
Think about it.
Yeah, that's true.
So marathons, no one can name marathon runners and marathon winners, and for the most part and everything, or triathletes, but they can certainly name Usain Bolt and every other sprinter.
Wow.
We praise sprinters. That's why we also praise all these people who blow up fast and go viral and all this stuff. And that's a very rare thing. And you also burn out fast doing that. And there's not as much longevity in it. Wow. There's rare exceptions where that's true. But most of the time we see people who get big very fast and they don't last very long.
Wow.
That being said, in general, the reason that I take kind of that very no nonsense, very direct, very analytically driven approach, and also the slow and steady approach of incrementalism, a balanced approach to quality and quantity, saying what's the threshold of acceptable quality, and then let's just be more consistent, is because consistency, discipline, and best practices always have the best performing track record, regardless of what situation, regardless of what niche, regardless of what vertical, regardless of what background, regardless of what your disadvantages are. Regardless of what your disadvantages are, if you can achieve the threshold of the of acceptable quality in your niche in terms of video, audio, lighting, and everything, which is not very expensive to do. If you really think about it, it's not that expensive to do. It is at least a smartphone.
Yeah.
Or a very affordable, comparatively affordable, like digital camera.
Yeah.
One or the other. If you get a microphone, the best microphone that I think that's reasonable within a budget, you have a couple of options. You can go with a wired lapel microphone, which will usually run you, even with an adapter for your phone, somewhere. A good one is between $30 and $50, or you can save up for Deity Wireless, which is about $200, and it's the only microphone you'll ever need in your career, regardless of what device you have ever again, because it has an adapter for your phone. It's really good, and it also can work on any of the cameras, and you're solid. And it's a one-time $200 investment in the best audio for the price that you're going to get, and it's reliable. Not sponsored, but it's like, but they're good. Yeah. And lighting, you could get a $80 ring light, and you are essentially done. So if you have a smartphone, you can have quality on par with any famous YouTuber for the most part. It's not even $500 worth of investment. As far as I need something to edit on or whatever. Well, if you're shooting on your phone, you can get a $400 used iPad, and those can edit in 4K now, and you can get something affordable to edit. Like you can get either Adobe Rush, or you can get what's the one I'm thinking of that
Filmora Go.
Well, you can get Filmora Go, but that's not what I'm thinking of. LumaFusion, $30.
Oh yeah,
one time.
LumaFusion, yes.
LumaFusion, one time, $30, lifetime purchase. There you go. So like $500, $600, you literally have everything to film, everything to edit, and you have quality right there. Canva for your thumbnails, or you can pay $10 a month for Photoshop. It's not that expensive. $10 a month. It's not that big a deal. And for being a content creator, and you literally now have the ability to compete, or $60 for Affinity Photo, and it's basically almost the same thing. There you go. You have the ability to compete on par with anybody with 100K subscribers. That is it. That's all you need. If you want to be extra, extra, you go and you buy either a Sony ZV-1 for $700. It's got a built-in lens, and that's the quality of a YouTuber right there. You buy that, or you get the Sony ZV-10, and you get yourself a 20 millimeter lens or something on top of the zoom lens or something like that. It's like, there you go. You have YouTuber. You have the same quality. You have the same quality as the biggest YouTubers with 100K, maybe even some of them with 1 million. Some of them are not being that extra or not being that fancy. I promise you. Yes. And that's all. So it's literally, it could be as cheap as anywhere from $500 to $1,000 investment, depending on whether you want to get off your phone or not. And you've got quality. So don't cry to me about quality. What a lot of people don't do is they don't do the effort and work to make the content they're making be valuable to a viewer or to a larger base of viewers. They make content that's very selfish, very self-indulgent, very self-involved. It's not what somebody who's a stranger who doesn't know you wants to watch. So the thing I try to tell people is, here are the things that you can control. Here are the things that make sense. Here are the things that at a bare minimum, everyone has to do to have a shot. Here's the data to support what I'm saying. Here are the statistics to support what I'm saying. And here is something that you can do, and you can see progress and a result, and you will have some data to review if you do it the way that I'm asking you to.
Wow. Man, I think at one point, I just like when I watched the video, I got like convicted. It's like, if you haven't made 100 videos, don't even ask me no questions, right? Don't even come to me talking to me about this or that. Like, let me go to your YouTube channel. If I don't see 100 videos there, you don't have the right to ask me anything. like that's
essentially, in a way, if you think about it, it's like, because like you don't have a baseline for understanding anything if you haven't done it 100. Like, can you imagine? Like, why am I not good at art? And you haven't like done 100 drawings, or you haven't done 100 paintings, or it's like, or you sit there and you have not shot 100 times at the basketball goal, and you're expecting to have any athletic accomplishment whatsoever. How dare you? Like, literally, how dare you? Like, how dare you? It's like, you can't do 100 push-ups, you can't do 100 reps, and you're crying to me about why you're not a good athlete? Are you serious right now? Like, there's no reason to expect anything if you have no experience, if you have no practice. Well, one, you're just abusing yourself at that point if you have any expectations. Think about it. think about it. YouTube, to be a YouTuber, you have to perform on camera. Very difficult to do. Why would you have any confidence to do that and be in front of an audience if you've never done it? That's not a reasonable expectation. Public speaking is one of the hardest things anyone's ever done. That's not a reasonable expectation to do. You haven't written headlines. You have no experience in creative writing. You have no experience in advertising writing. You have no experience in headline writing. And you're supposed to be able to write a headline that's going to get 1,000 people interested in something from someone they don't know. Why is that a reasonable request? If I made that your job, it's not a reasonable request when you have no experience.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be able to edit a video that's supposed to get a stranger who doesn't know you to be invested in this enough to watch 50% or more of this video. And you also have to get 1,000 strangers to do it. That's not a reasonable request of somebody who's never done it. That's absurd.
Yeah.
It's absurd. If I was your boss and I was asking that of you, you'd tell me I'm abusive and that I'm toxic and that I'm putting too much pressure on you and that I don't have a right to ask that.
Wow.
If you know how to stand up for yourself, you'd be saying that anyway.
Yeah.
Like if you've never used Photoshop, like you've never ever made something that people like have ever clicked on 1,000 times, and you think that you're going to do that on day one. Like, why would that be a reasonable request?
Facts. Love it. But yeah, that was an epiphany moment for me. I think that was a great mindset shift, and that's why it's taken off. You know, I've heard the biggest YouTubers say that now, and I'm like, wow, like, can you at least get some air quotes for Roberto Blake at least?
And the thing is, I have data to back it up. You know, you take 3 of the biggest YouTubers, Marquez Brownlee, MKBHD, 15 million subscribers, one of the largest black creators there is. Like, his first 100 videos, he didn't even get 100 subscribers. He didn't even get 100 subscribers. And that represents a tenth of his career. He's done over 1,000 videos now, so that's like almost a tenth of his career. And it's like it didn't even produce 1%, not even a fraction of a percent of a result for him. Mr. Beast is at almost 100,000 subscribers now. He's at 90,000 as of the making of this right now. His first 100 videos, he didn't get 1,000 subscribers. His first 100 videos wouldn't have even got him into the YouTube partner program if that requirement existed when he was doing it.
Wow.
Like, he wouldn't even gotten that out of it. He didn't even get 1,000. And like, he's made 1,000 videos now, and he's at almost 100,000. It's not even close to being 1% of his results out of his first 100 videos, and yet it represents a tenth of his whole career. And this was his second damn channel. This was the second time of him doing this, by the way.
Facts.
Like, and that's the channel he has today. PewDiePie, currently the biggest solo YouTuber, over 100 million. His first 100 videos got him 2,500 subscribers. Again, that's not even a fraction of his overall outcome, and it represents 1/30th of his content because he's made like 3,000 videos. Like, it's insanity to think that you're going to, because a handful of people blew up with a dozen or so videos, but what? Because Janelle Ileana blew up, or because Emma Chamberlain, or a couple of people. Like, are you serious? Like, that's like, there's 100 million people trying to do YouTube. That's almost nobody. It's not even 1% of. It's not even a 0.1% of people have ever had that kind of blow up. The reality is that almost every single creator that's even gotten 10,000 subscribers spent 5 to 7 years doing it and made 500 to 1,000 videos. Whether they got 10,000 or 100,000 or 1 million out of it, it always, regardless of whether you get 10,000, 100,000, or 1 million out of that same concentration of effort, is largely about your talent and temperament. You won't get the same results because you ain't the same as anybody else.
He said, you ain't. He got country on it. You ain't the same. I love it, man. So let's get to some of these questions, and then I have because the time is flying. So, all right, let me go to my comment screen, and shout out to Dr. Elo Primo in the building. We have Eliseo. He said, question, do you feel that any professional needs to have a personal brand to scale their services or make lateral moves into another industry?
I think in the 2020s, it's essential, and I don't think it's even really debatable for most people that they would benefit from it. You know, like I would say for most people, it's going to be necessary. There'll obviously be people with circumstances where it wasn't, but I think that most people would benefit even if it's not necessary, it would be easier if they did. I
Yeah.
think it'd be easier if it did. A personal brand is nothing more than a body of work and a reputation. And I would say right now, it would be a body of work and a reputation that can be verified at a glance.
Yeah.
And so that means it has to, in my mind, largely exist beyond analog to be accessible and to afford you more leverage.
Yeah.
And so that's where we've always had personal brands.
Yeah.
I just believe you have more leverage if they're digital at this point.
Oh, facts, especially with like NFTs and where things are going. Absolutely, man. You can just so many branch off in so many different ways. He has another question. Do you have ownership of your personal brand? I guess that's to you.
If you are not under contract for work for hire for somebody else where they own the rights to what you create while you're under the contract, then yes, you do. If you're not, you need to really think about that. Contracts matter.
Wow. Yeah. Brant Collins said, when does the book drop?
Ideally by the end of summer. More than 95% of it's been written. I need to
what's the
hire
title
an
again?
editor. It's going to be titled Create Something Awesome.
Okay.
Start profiting from your passion in the creator economy, something like that.
Yeah, gotcha. Cool, man. I think you need to go ahead and trademark a few sayings, brother. Creator economy, make 100 videos. I think you got to trademark.
Don't think I'm not.
He said, "Don't think I'm not."
I'm not.
That's what's up. All right, cool. Now I want to ask you a couple questions, and we're gonna pretty much be done because we only got about 12 minutes.
First, I've got a little bit more time for you.
Okay.
I mean, because you haven't gotten to ask me much. I've just been rambling.
Nah, you good. So I want to ask them on the business side and then on the creator side, right? So first is like the creator side. It was funny, not funny. It's real talk. I was like, because I pray and stuff. So I was praying. I'm like, God, like, because I'm real like one of them people who's like, man, should I take the angle of my channel and what should I focus on? I kid you not, bro. I prayed. The next morning, I got an email from you, and the email said, if I were to start YouTube in 2022, these are the things I would focus on. And you listed out like about 7 things. It was like this and that. And I emailed you back. I don't know if you got it. I was like, bro, this is literally an answered prayer.
I don't know if I did. Maybe I did.
I was like, this is literally an answered prayer.
Sounds familiar. Yeah.
Yeah. Because it like listed out like focus on that, focus on that, focus on that. And I just like wrote them all down. And like, that's what I've been like getting ideas for videos. And so do you remember any of them? Like, I would love for you to share a few. I know one was like
I can look it up. I probably
editing tutorials. One was like a few other things. So I
think this one was specific to like, well, here's like, if you guys understand me, here's what I would do.
Yeah.
Is like kind of where I was going with it. Let me see if I can find it.
But while you're looking for that, if you could think of like hardcore, like we do hear a lot of fluff, like as it relates to like YouTube on like what to focus on. And I know it's like that's a general question.
Well, it largely depends on your goals. And the thing is, I don't necessarily agree with everybody's goals when they're starting out like on YouTube, largely because, and again, it's not their fault. It's just that they don't have a basis for this thing. They have their imagined expectations and not the reality. So, like with me, I understand the reality of it, and I kind of had an idea of the reality of it even going into it, to be honest with you. So
yeah,
when I thought about it, and I'm looking to see if I can find the email. But like when I thought about it, or here's what I would tell you. Actually, let me just do an off the cuff version of it. So let's think about this practically. The thing that I would focus on, and that you'd have to focus on as a new creator, is you'd have to think about, well, when I watch content, what is it I like about the creators that I'm watching? And I'd start thinking really heavy about that. I'd also look at top performing creators and say, what skills someone like this have? What skills and abilities does someone have? So, all right, they can present and they're good on camera. I'll have to be good at that, and I'll have to be good at communication and getting my ideas right. So I have to get good at communication. Okay, cool. I'm gonna have to learn a video editing software. Well, how much money do I have? How much does video editing software cost? Okay, I've got to learn one of these things. I got to train up in that. Okay, I have to have a video creation tool in the form of a camera or a smartphone's camera. And okay, what can give me good audio? I'm going to need to do that. Okay, every YouTube video needs a thumbnail. you know what? The biggest creators, they ain't using screen grabs. They ain't making these like crappy little thumbnails. It's like, you know what? To be competitive, I'm going to have to actually probably get good at like Photoshop or art or design or photography, something. I can't just take a screen grab. I cannot make a lazy thumbnail if I actually expect to get views and not waste my time. So I'm going to have to do that because that's what a good YouTube video is. I'm going to have to get good at editing and storytelling and scripting because there's no way that they're just improving this. This is like, they're not wasting my time. The edits are sharp. You know what? That's got to require a script. These people are practically actors and performers. I gotta train up on that too. So I gotta know what I'm talking about or be excited about the thing. I've got to figure out how to write. I've got to figure out how to do all this stuff, right? All right. Okay, good. So I'm going to focus on my skills. Great. I got my skills. What am I either good at? Am I going to talk about what I'm good at? Or am I going to talk about what I'm passionate about? Am I going to talk about something I'm actually good at? Or am I going to talk about something I'm passionate about? So what am I doing? Am I an entertainer or I'm an educator? Or is there anything interesting about my life? If I want to talk about myself, is there anything interesting about my life if you don't know me, if you're a stranger? Can I be a lifestyle content creator? Yeah. Most people try to do that. They shouldn't because they're not that interesting. Like just to be blunt, like most people, there's not an interesting aspect of like, okay, if you were going to do it, you'd lean into the most interesting aspect of your life. And so what's interesting about you? And if you have to really think about that, then pick something else. Like don't be a lifestyle creator until you have an interesting or enviable lifestyle. Like
funny story. I had there's a show on ABC that's called it's like you got to lie, you got to tell these lies, and then The Hustler. Have you seen that show, The Hustler?
I don't think I have.
Yeah, it's a new show called The Hustler. So somehow they contacted me through Instagram and they wanted me to audition for the show. But before I auditioned, I had to do like a Zoom call with the producers. And that's what they asked me, that question. They said, tell me the most interesting things about your life, right? So I did. And I guess my life wasn't interesting enough because I didn't get the part.
So like me, I have another like more like almost behind the scenes channel that I'm working on. I haven't touched it in like months, like largely because like during the pandemic, I just couldn't keep up with it. Just like how I brought back the podcast though, because now I'm getting mentally and emotionally to a place to where I can do more. And the idea I have for it is like, okay, well, what's interesting right now is I'm working on an art studio in the basement. And so what's interesting is that build out and people seeing like the choices in my desk setups, my furniture, the standing desk, how I'm handling the making these studio lights work and stuff like that. And okay, what's interesting is also I like supporting other creators. So like me buying and unboxing other creators like merchandise and products and trying them out on camera and giving my first impressions or reactions. It's like, okay, there's probably like 1,000 people who could be interested in that. So like stuff like that on my other channel. And it does get like 1,000 views when I do stuff like that. So I'm going to be doing more of that, especially over the summer. But those are interesting things because, what's interesting is I'm a new homeowner and a YouTuber. There is something interesting about that. Buying some of these really interesting products for my art studio. There is something interesting about that. And people do like things like that. And they like studio tours and renovations. I've found that there's like, okay, there's people who are interested in that. Even if they didn't know me or know anything about me, that would actually be kind of interesting to watch. And there's like something interesting or aspirational or inspiring about picking out furniture or building creative spaces or about studio gear or just about watching somebody else spending money you wish you had. Like
that was one of the things in the list you put. One of the things I focus on is desk tours. That was one of the things I remember that. So I was like, oh,
exactly.
Yeah.
And there's proven popularity in that niche and there's a proven way to do it. So I'm like, okay, I don't have to think of everything from scratch for that because there's a way to do that in a way that is proven that people are interested in it, right? So if I did lifestyle content, okay, that's the lifestyle play. Okay, well, what about, so that's the lifestyle play and that can be entertaining in a way, all right? Now in education, I'm like, okay, well, what skills do I have? Like I started my channel around the software that I use to make a living and that was creative software, mostly Adobe stuff. And I also was doing stuff around, well, here's the hardware I use in my work and in my living. And then it's like, well, you guys have a lot of questions about this, about marketing yourself, because you see my marketing being successful here, me growing an audience. So I'll just answer all your questions about how I'm using social media and how I'm using these other tools and what I'm doing. Or, oh, you guys see that my stuff is improving and I'm getting new things in the background and I'm buying new tools all the time. It's like, well, how are you making your money? It's like, okay, I'll answer your questions about that. So I just kept making content. In my case, just like, all right, here are the skills I use, like my hard skills.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys want to know about some of my soft skills?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. You guys want to know about how? All right. So you want to know how I make things? Okay, I'll show you.
I think
that's always
really
useful.
I think it's really dope.
Oh, you want to know how I'm marketing myself? Okay, that's useful. Oh, you want to know how I make money? Okay, that's fine. That's useful. So I just made utility content.
Yeah.
That would be evergreen. It's like, oh, you want to know how to make things? Got you.
Love
okay.
That.
Well, making things. Well, if you want to have the opportunity to make things for a living, you got to market yourself. Okay. Well, if you're like marketing yourself and you're making things, you should know about like the money involved in that, the money side. So let's talk about it. So
yeah, I love how, I don't know if you still do it, but I remember back in the day, you used to do like an annual, this is what I made on YouTube, showing your back office and all the like.
I'm working on it. Yeah, I'm working on it because we had to finalize kind of the numbers for tax season here. So it's like, so
I just thought, I didn't think that was crazy, but I just thought, I was like, yo, he's really going into his YouTube back studio showing like, this is what I made. It's like, why did you feel that was important to do? Like a lot of creators would be like, man, you crazy. Like, wow. I think you might have started that too. Cause I see other creators doing that now. And you were the first person I seen like going into your YouTube.
There were probably a handful of other people. I think I was the person to do it the most aggressively and the most often.
Yeah.
I've probably done it the most aggressively, most often. And I've done it live probably the most times that anyone's ever done it live. So
why is that important to show people like your actual, this is what I make? Like, why is that important?
Because one, not everybody makes the same and they need to understand why, and they need to stop being superstitious about these things too. People need to understand the truth about this data and the analytics and understand it and see, well, not only what's possible, but also they need to understand that not all views are valued equal. I make more money than people who go viral a lot of times because they need to understand. And also I wanted to transparently also kind of advocate for like creators, regardless of their like, hey, there are some people out here dunking on that are making more money than people getting more views. There's there's people who don't pull a lot of views, but their views are worth 20 times the money. So ask yourself, do you want 20 times the views or 20 times the money? Do you want cash or do you want clout? So I wanted to kind of I wanted to defend people in niches where their stuff might not perform as well, but it might make more money and people need to know that. And then also people need to reconsider their own position on that. Number two, I also wanted to defend YouTubers who get a bunch of views and everyone's pretending that they're super rich. And I'm like, you don't understand. There's content that doesn't make any money regardless of whatever and stuff like that. And that, hey, some entertainment YouTubers show how much money they make, but they're getting all these massive views. I wanted to show, well, there are niches, like not everyone's an entertainer and not everyone needs to be, and you might make more money if you specialize in something or a skill, and you can make a career out of YouTube if you had a previous career to leverage in the first place.
Yeah.
So I wanted to encourage more people like in their 30s and whatnot to say, hey, look, you've had a life as an adult, you've had all these responsibilities. You may think you've missed the boat on YouTube. If you're in your 30s and 40s, though, you know things that are useful to someone just starting out in life. And you could share that and make money doing it. Wow. And I think that that's valuable. I also think that, again, I think that there's so little transparency and education in the business of YouTube and the reality of it. I also wanted people to say, hey, don't think that blowing up or being a full-time YouTuber that you're just automatically going to do this. Because here's the money I'm making. You'd be like, oh, that's nice. I'm like, yeah, but if you do your content that you're thinking of doing in entertainment, you will make 1/10 of what I make, even if you get 5 times more views than me. Wait, what? Why? How? And then well, let me tell you about it. And it's because you don't think about it. YouTube isn't like a career where you can go onto Glassdoor, look up the thing that you're going to do, and know how much money you're going to make. For real.
It's not Glassdoorable, guys. It's not Glassdoorable.
No, it's not. It's not the same thing as to where you could. And the thing is, other people keep thinking that views, that they can just sit there and make a calculation about how much money they're going to make based on how much views they're going to get, just like they could, oh, I worked this many hours, I'm going to make this much money. No, it's not the same. And you need to stop expecting it to be. So I want people to have a point of reference to truly understand the truth about YouTube. And that thing is, almost, even if you almost no YouTube educator before me, I think there's a few who do now. Almost no YouTube educator before me showed the amount of money they made off of the channel that they were teaching from.
Yeah.
So that's it. That's one thing. Two, I've done more content than most creators because I've done over 1,000 videos. I have more data than most people. So I felt like I'm a really good way to create an understanding of what expectations versus reality could be for people. And I've done enough variety of enough types of content over my many, many years to also be able to, and I've coached enough creators to where I can tell you what to expect in certain niches and verticals in terms of earnings related to views. I can also tell you a lot about brand deals. And, I went so far as to not just, at first it was just talking about, well, here's what the YouTube ad revenue is. And I was like, okay, well, here's what affiliate is. And I needed people to understand I make more on affiliate than I do on ad revenue. And for me, the affiliate is recurring. So I don't even have to get up and hustle for that in the way that I do for the ad revenue.
Yeah.
And then teaching people, well, a lot of you are underpricing brand deals. That's one of the things I've been harping on lately. I've been dissecting each individual pieces of the creator economy and different ways of monetizing. So I was transparent on ad revenue. I was transparent on affiliate revenue. Now I'm trying to create more transparent, and more people got into affiliate and said, oh, thank God, Roberto, I have less financial anxiety. I'm making a full-time living, and I wouldn't have done that if I kept focusing on AdSense. And now I'm like trying to get people to understand how to properly approach a sustainable way and a fair way of doing their brand deals and of pricing and thinking and not underrating themselves. We talk a lot. There's a lot of talk about like the idea that, well, like people of color are offered less or women are offered less. I don't like, one of the things I tell people is like, people who have not been trained how to negotiate brand deals in this industry, which is almost nobody because this industry is different and it's young, are offered less because they have less leverage. People who don't have someone representing them to go out and get their brand deals get offered less because when somebody's out there representing you and they're taking 20%, they ask for more and they get it. Like, so, you're making less than another creator? Do they have somebody representing them? I don't know that. Oh, but you expect that you don't know their circumstances, but you know about their outcome, huh? Okay. So, did you do a counter offer? Wait, you can do that? Oh, wait, so you're mad about how much you got, but you didn't counter offer? It's like, did they come to you or did you go to them? Well, they came to me. They came to you and you took the first offer.
Yeah.
Oh. I'm like, right. And again, I'm not hating or throwing shade. I'm just saying that people get very loud about what they think that they're supposed to get. They don't even know. I'm like, if you got what the other person got, would you feel like that's fair? Oh yeah, I'd feel like that's fair. It's like, oh, congratulations, because that person that got more than you still underpriced themselves. You still wouldn't get what you are owed. You still wouldn't get what you're owed getting what they're getting because they're underpricing by themselves because they could get 3 times that and you'd be happy just getting what they're getting. But you don't even realize that they aren't that much more educated than you. They don't even know how to price themselves properly. It's like they could have gotten 3 times that. Wow. I'm like, there's all this stuff. The reality is that in terms of brand deals, I'm trying to expose people to the fact that it's a lack of education around the negotiation of the contract. They keep thinking that it's all views and subscribers. That's a thing that is used. Effectively, by the way.
I don't know if you know,
to undermine creators.
I spoke at the Triller conference. You were one of the speakers there too, and that was one of the things that they were talking about, brand deals. And I remember the KFC girl came in, and she was saying they have a whole, like most companies have a whole department now that looks for influencers. And she said they actually look for like micro influencers or mid influencers who don't have a lot of followers, but they have real good engagement. Higher engagement threshold actually matters. Your engagement threshold and your responsiveness on comments and likes is actually a better indicator that you can convert sales than anything else, and that you have loyalty, and that's priced in. The other aspect of it is you need to negotiate on the line items of the contract. And what all these influencers keep doing is they keep throwing their stats into these damn calculators and instead of looking at the contract and realizing that in any other industry, in any other business, you negotiate on every line item of a contract. That is what you would do. You negotiate on every line. Exclusivity. You negotiate on that. It's like,
oh, opportunity cost of me 30 days versus 90 days. If you want 90 days, you're giving me more of a bag. If you get 30 days, oh, I'm losing less opportunities. Well, how much? Oh, you want to license my likeness and use me, and you want to license my footage and use it in an ad?
Yeah.
Well, all right, I will license you the usage, but I retain the rights.
I own the content.
I own the content, not you.
Yes.
I own the content, not you. I'm licensing it to you for 3 months.
That's a good one.
Oh, you want 6 months? More money.
That's a good one.
The year? More money.
That's a good one.
Like, it's another line item to negotiate and slide the scale. Oh, so like, here's another one. Oh, you want the ad read in the first 1/3 of the video? Well, that's going to cost you more than if it's in the second third or the last third.
Audience retention.
Oh, you want a 90-second ad read? I think that's a turn off to my audience. You going to have to pay me more for that, or are we going to go to 60 seconds? Negotiate the creative control.
Wow.
Like, 30 seconds. Here's the price for 30. Here's the price for 60. Here's the price for 90. Here's the price if it's in the first third. Here's the price if it's in the second third. Here's the price in the third third. Oh, here is the price. Oh, you want to do one video? Here's the thing. I sell a package of 3 or 5. Here's how much money you'd save if you just do a longer term relationship with me. Well, that's a horse of another color now. Here are the other platforms you may not be knowing that I have a big following in, and here's those engagement metrics. Here's that 10,000 subscriber email list that I have direct access to and get a 30% open rate on. 30% open rates, we only get 12, right? That's like, all of a sudden, that's another increase in price because it's an increase in value added.
I'm gonna have to go back and watch this later.
Influencers look at views and followers and subscribers and then wonder why they're getting screwed over instead of looking at their contract because they're obsessed with their clout instead of really taking a hard look at the basis of their cash. They are mistaking the value of their clout for cash every time. It breaks my heart. And then they are shocked. And the thing is, they don't realize that there are people and they're making more money than them because of how they're playing the game and because they have lawyers, they have representation, or they've had coaching, or they've had training. Not because of the superficial things that they think are happening there. And a lot of it also is the difference between assertiveness and standing up for yourself on your pricing and also even just having rates versus taking offers. Having rates versus taking offers. Some people also don't realize, you can just go and you can actually pitch.
Do you do all your own like negotiating and stuff, or do you have?
I do majority of it. Sometimes I work with space station integrations. Sometimes PR companies come directly to me, and then with them, I know that I can ask them what's in the budget, and I can like pull that. And then I have different leverage than other creators because the thing is, I don't need to live off my brand deals. Most creators do.
Wow.
I have a leverage to say, look, I care more about this other thing that's not money, like creative control, for example. I care more about control than I care about money, or I might care more about access than I care about money. So I might want compensation in things that aren't cash.
I love
access.
I love
early access.
I love that.
Exclusive access, priority, access to talk to a product manager and ask questions and things like that. I might negotiate other things on the side too of like, all right, who can you put me in touch with to where I can work with y'all as a consultant and not just an influencer? Because I'll do an influencer deal with you, but I want a separate contract to work with you as a consultant to improve the product.
Yes.
So I negotiate these things from leverage, but part of my leverage is the ability to say no. And the thing is, that's the other thing, to put yourself in a position as a creator. The more diversified your income streams as a creator, the more leverage you have to walk away from deals that don't fit you. And the more you also get precious about your time and decide that you're not getting out of bed for less than a certain amount of money.
Man, that's crazy. I love that mindset though. I wish more creators would take that mindset of the longevity, like the long run. You want to take the quick money right now, or do you want to be on the first name basis with the CEO, right? That you got their cell phone number. They call you and bounce ideas off, and you can get an even longer check. So I love that concept, man.
Exactly. And then some people, it doesn't occur to them to look at, how do I go 3 or 4 levels deep in this relationship? Like maybe if I start as an affiliate, I can negotiate a better brand deal because I have proof that I'm selling.
Yeah.
And I can just like, what would it take? What would it take for me to be in the leaderboard of their top 10 affiliates, and thinking like that about proving my value? Like,
Yes.
people don't think like that. They keep thinking about, I want to get paid this. I want to get paid that. I want the views. They're not thinking about, I want to be the very best at what I do, and I want to prove it. And I want to make sure that everyone knows. Because again, if I do this for a brand, I can always use that and talk to another brand and said, hey, I'm in the top 20 in sales for this brand in terms of my affiliate revenue, so I can prove that I can deliver. You want me to do that for you?
Yeah.
Oh, I became the face of this launch. What are you willing to pay for somebody who has that ability and that reputation? See, people don't think like that.
But if you really think about it, if you get to the point where a brand wants to give you money, you have arrived. So why rush that process? Why not squeeze like every ounce of that, opportunity?
Well, that's the other thing. A lot of people be rushing the process, and they get too early, and then they wonder why they're getting taken advantage of. Because by the way, the first time you say yes to taking money, it's really hard to get comfortable with asking for more.
Yeah, I love that.
The sooner you take somebody's money, the sooner you get comfortable with that amount of money. And it gets really hard to risk asking for more and hearing no. Because people don't understand their rejection sensitivity affects their assertiveness in negotiations.
Wow.
They don't understand that psychology, and that like delaying gratification builds higher levels of confidence and assertiveness.
Wow. I love that. I remember when I was young and I had gotten in a car accident. And this taught me a lesson just going forward, just not to say yes so quick to anything like money and stuff. I'd be like, people would be looking at me like crazy. I'd be like, nah, I'm gonna wait on that. I'm gonna chill on that. It always pays off bigger later. But I got in this accident where I got rear-ended. This guy like totaled my car. I could have died in this accident. I kid you not, bro. I was so happy to just be alive. I'm like, I'm alive. I'm good. The next day, the insurance company called me. Right? I didn't know I'm legit. So the first thing they asked, hey, Mr. Wade, how you doing, man? How you feeling? My dumb self, I'm sitting here saying, oh, I'm feeling great, man. I'm alive. I couldn't be better. I'm just happy to be alive. So they're like, you're feeling good? You're fine? You're okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I'm happy to be alive. Okay, well, we're going to go ahead and my check, my truck, I still owe like $12,000 on the truck. Okay, Mr. Wade, well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to send you a check for $12,000, pay off your truck, and you'll be good. I'm like, you're going to pay off my truck? Oh, yeah. Okay, cool. It's totaled now, so I don't have a ride. So I said yes to everything. They got me on. They got me my voice. They sent me a check. My mom walked in the room. She's like,
you would have had
bro. Like I almost died in this accident. I could have got like 100,000. My mom was like
50, 100,000. Yeah, you would have had 50 to 100,000 easily.
But after that, I learned like don't say yes to nothing quick. Think about everything. Even if you know in your mind like, yeah, I'm finna take this. Just don't say yes right there. Like go think about. And you know what? Companies actually have more respect for you when you think about it and be like, I'll get back to you. They have more respect.
Especially if they came to you. Especially if they came to you. Especially if they came to you. Like this is why like the thing that's gone up for me in terms of coaching requests has lately been, and for a long time now actually, it's been less about how to grow because people love my free content around that, even though there are things I could tell them about their own specific analytics and how to read that. And some people still come to me for that. But the monetization pieces around how to diversify, but also how to negotiate are becoming more and more of a thing. And the business side and how to hire, that's all becoming more of a thing. And bigger creators. Like I have some clients that come to me, everyone doesn't have everything figured out when they have 100,000 or 500,000 or even 2 million subscribers. They're good at specific things when they do that. They don't necessarily have it all figured out. And you're not going to have it all figured out. I don't even have everything figured out. I keep learning and I keep doing things. There are new things that I keep looking at in terms of like I had to learn a lot about the logistics of hiring people onto my team because I was very risk adverse in trusting other people and just very reliant on myself and doing everything, which is not sustainable. My life is happier now that I have a very small team of friends and family.
Wow.
Hiring on, and not everyone can hire family, but I'm like, actually, I've done it. I've balanced it really well.
Wow.
In my relationship with my sisters. My sisters work for me.
Oh, nice.
And then, and then in terms of when I became a homeowner, I actually decided that I'm going to own more property in the future. And so there's things that I'm looking at. I brought and I decided to put my mom on payroll as a general manager and property manager over my affairs because I'm like, I work too long sometimes and I travel too much. even the closing of my house, I had to appoint a power of attorney to do the legal side and be present at the closing for my house because I was speaking at Vid Summit during my closing. I was literally across the country speaking on a stage while my house was closing.
Wow.
And so I
congrats on that, by the way. Congrats on that.
Thank you.
Like I remember you talking about it, how you kind of even like at the closing, you were getting like a little like teared up. Like what was the emotion that was going through your mind, like for like to have that type of rush of emotions?
It's hard to explain it because I did not expect it, especially as someone that is like tried to embrace stoicism. It's like I did not expect all the rush of emotion and feelings of release of the idea of accomplishing becoming a homeowner, and especially doing it before 40. You know, they have the median age of homeownership in America is 47. I did it at 37. I arrived in life. And it's also hard when I look at like people 10 years younger than me, but they have more opportunities now because of just everything. So it's like, I also don't judge on that, but it was very difficult mentally and emotionally to process how I felt and to put words to how I felt in that moment of, I've literally worked my whole adult life and didn't actually expect to have this, let alone have it this soon.
Wow.
And there were all kinds of feelings that I felt about it. And they overwhelmed me, and I just wasn't expecting them. I just ended up in the bank, and I was just crying tears of joy. And then everyone was also celebrating. And then strangers were happy for me. That was also very different of having strangers outside my internet community care about a life accomplishment that I had, have the bank teller come, mask and everything, shake my hand and pat me on the back and everything like that. And congratulate me. And like, it was, again, first time I paid my mortgage, it was the same thing. And I was like, oh, because then it was real. Because then it was real. And it was a very, and the thing is I did it also as a creative entrepreneur. I did it as somebody who built their own business.
Yes.
Someone who built their own audience from nothing. And somebody who literally did that from scratch with a camera that at the time probably cost all the money I had in the world, a $400 laptop that was burning my legs every time I turned it on.
Hot. I mean, you can cook an egg on that joint. I remember, bro.
They had that $30 Targus air mat under, like, see, that's real broke people.
I'm 39, so you're 38. I'm 39. We're like right in the same.
Yeah, age. I'll be 38 in June. Nice. So like real broke people know about that Targus airflow mat that you put under the laptop so that it doesn't explode. Yeah. Real talk. Like, people know that the thing that, so that your laptop doesn't catch on fire from them fans kicking on full speed, like struggling with Premiere.
No, you actually get numb to it until you actually take your laptop off your lap and you're like, oh, I'm on fire.
Oh, dear Lord in heaven, this can't be healthy. This is like, yeah. So there's that, like, oh, don't rest it on the bed if you don't want a literal fire to start. That's how people's houses burn down. So yeah, there's so like, I really did. It's like, it's not one of those BS rags to like Rich's stories. It's one of those, no, I worked my way up into a place of comfort, coming from very little in terms of resources. And I actually know how to do it. And, people can talk about, oh, well, like, people talk about luck to sound humble, because then they're off the hook for explaining to you, here is the process I went through. Wow. Here is what I gave up.
Wow.
Because if you say, oh, I got lucky. Yes, you have to work hard, but luck is a big part of it. And this is why everyone doesn't get to do it. Luck and rarity are different things. Rare outcomes are not predicated on luck. Rare outcomes are predicated on divergent behavior or differentiated behavior.
Love it.
Different behavior, different outcome. Different behavior, different outcome. Like, most people do not make 100 videos to learn, let alone period. Most people don't learn video editing software. Most people don't learn how to code. Less than 0.5% of people in the entire world know how to code. So that's a really different, like, people are not creating outlier situations for themselves because they're not practicing outlier behavior. They are doing the same thing as everyone else and then expecting a different result or expecting to get the outlier results, but they don't have outlier behavior. They have no outlier behavior. There's nothing that they're doing that's so radically different, and they're not doing enough different things in combination to be truly express anything unique about themselves. Anything unique about them is not represented in the majority of the things that they are doing through life. Everything they're doing in life is about fitting in, and then they wonder why they end up being average in every way. Even if they have something remarkable in them, it's not expressed in, there's not hundreds of things or thousands of things people do that represents the unique, remarkable thing that they might be capable of. And they haven't given it the hours that they're giving. They're not even giving it a fraction of the hours, a fraction of the care, a fraction of anything in terms of commitment that they're giving to these other things. Can you imagine if people gave to their God-given gifts the time that they've given to Netflix over their lifetime, how different their life would be?
Shots.
Do you realize, and I'm guilty of this too. Do you realize this is why I gave up video games back in the day. Do you realize what I did was I exchanged my KDR ratio in Call of Duty for success. Like I sacrificed all my distractions and all of my vices on the altar of my success. What did I do? I gave up drinking. I gave up drinking. I gave up clubbing. I was like, if my friends wanted to spend time with me, it had to cost $0 and take less than 90 minutes of my day.
Woo.
And eventually they just stopped spending time with me, and I was like, okay, that's fine too.
Facts. Yo, that's conviction right there, dog.
It's like I gave things like equivalent exchange to attain something of equal value must be lost. I took all of my excuses, all of my distractions, all of my vices, and that's what I was going to sacrifice on the altar to get what I wanted. That's what I was putting on the altar. That's Love it, nope, man. It's there we go. Like that's a fair trade. Let's go. Like here are all these things. Like let's go. And it's not about. And by the way, like people keep dunking on hustle culture. It's like a season of hustle is better than a lifetime of hardship. Like giving up all these things and living like a monk for 3 to 5 years is a very small price to pay for 30 to 50 years of living on your own terms and having your freedom and those things. It's not unreasonable. Even giving up 10 years is not a bad trade for the back half of 40 of freedom and not having to answer to people and living on your own terms.
Love it.
And yeah, there's going to be heartache to be had for it. There's a price to be paid. But again, isn't that a small price to live on your own terms? If not, and you want to be comfortable now, don't complain later because you're taking comfort now and later you might not have a variety of options. And that's how it is, because time will catch up and you're going to be like, so you got a choice. You want to live comfortable, super comfortable while you're young and then like feel some kind of way of that when you get older and life makes things more uncomfortable? Or do you want life in your later years to become uncomfortable from a position of a lot of comfort in terms of how it scales down? Or do you want to like YOLO early? Like you got to make a like, and you want to cash in early, or do you want the compound interest? Do you want to cash in? Do you want the lump sum of live the good life now? You want the lump sum of like, and it's not even that good. And like, or do you want
like what?
Or do you want
noodles?
Or do you want to cash it like, or do you want to like, you know what, when you really like, or do you want the compound interest? Do you want the compound interest of your choices, or do you want to cash out now? Like do you want like, because here's the thing. It's like, I would not want to just like give me all of my potential right this moment. No, I don't want that. Like I'll take it incrementally. Thank you. Like, I'll take my dividends. Thank you. Like I'll take the compounding. Thank you. That's real. People don't understand. It's real. And that it's the framework that I look at is, well, okay. What, like, how many years of your life are you going to give to building the foundation of the skills, to build your capacity of what you can do without other people? And a lot of people do not invest in their capacity to do something without other people, right? And again, this is skills, things like your communication skills, your critical thinking, memorization, speed reading, and it can be also software and hardware skills. It could be a trade, right? It could be a trade. If you learn a trade, that's going to give you compound interest for the rest of your life. A lot of people won't do that. If you aren't going to learn a trade, instead of a job, look at a job as being a transitional thing, and you need to not work a job. No one should be working a job for 20 or 30 years. They could spend 20 or 30 years in a career, but they should not work a job. They should not be non-specialized for. If you can't learn specialization
wow,
and learn a craft, like if you're gonna look at like 10 years of your adult life, if you have 10 years of your adult life and you're not gonna learn a craft, you're not gonna have a craft, you're not gonna have a trade, you're not gonna have a vocation or a profession. Like what? Why? Why? What is so great about Netflix and drinking and making like these people who aren't going to be there for you? What's so great about all of these things you spend your nights and weekends on at the expense of achieving your potential as a person? What is so great about going to the club versus like working out or reading a book? Because like people are like, well, you can't just work all the time. I didn't, but I worked on myself all the time. If I wasn't earning extra money, you can't monetize every hour of the day. I didn't. But what was I doing? I was reading and listening to books and podcasts. I was working out and maintaining my physical fitness because that's actually really good for your mental health. Wow. And when I wasn't doing that, I was doing creative things that I wasn't monetizing, working on just patience, craftsmanship, and writing and drawing, even just recreationally, working on creative things and taking walks and being in nature and meditating and doing things that are like, again, living like a monk of like, I will not have vices and distractions and I'm not forsaking the world.
Wow.
I'm changing the way that I interact with it to exclusively do things for my betterment. I exclusively did things that would make me better over a period of time and that would create value over a period of time.
Yeah.
And I did this for a number of years, and then slowly I could reintroduce distractions and vices once I was no longer miserable with what my day-to-day circumstances were.
Yeah.
That's the truth. And the thing is, there's nothing wrong with doing that for 3 to 5 years, and there's nothing you're going to regret, frankly, about losing people who don't want to be there for you. Because again, people who aren't willing to make room for you living your life that way for 3 to 5 years probably aren't people worth keeping in your life for the next 30 to 50.
It's a good one, man. I'm gonna have so many quotes out of this one. This is micro. So, this is micro content heaven right now.
Yeah, I mean that's just how I think. That's success is rooted in the belief systems that you have and the philosophy that you live your life by day to day.
I love what you said. You said don't spend 20 years of your life and not be a specialist. Be non-specialist. What did you say?
Don't spend 20 years of your life working in a job where you're non-specialized. You need to have a skill, a trade, a vocation, a profession, a career. You don't need a job. You do need an income. Wow. You don't need a job. You need an income. And the thing is, the best way for you to have a substantial and reliable income is to be specialized, which means you need a craft, a skill, a trade, or profession.
Everybody in the audience right now, put in the comments what you are a specialist at. You know what I'm saying? Like, what do you specialize in? Like, put that in the comments. I would love to see.
And the thing is, a good way to become a specialist, like, well, I don't know. It's like, okay, here's one simple way you can become a specialist. Learn a software and become very proficient and competent in that software. Because I promise you, out of 7 billion people in the world, that there is not 700 million people who know that software. I promise you.
Facts.
And out of those people that know that software, I guarantee you that a bunch of them don't know how to do a lot of things. You don't have to be a master of that software. You do have to be able to do some very competent, specific things. And if you spend a lot of time doing that, I promise you that most people do not have a software that they can say that I'm very competent and very sharp in that software. And if that software is part of a company's ecosystem and you learn 2 or 3 companion software, even if you haven't mastered it, you are better and more useful to somebody if you know 3 software and you're 70% at them. You are much better than someone who's a 90% at only one of the software in that ecosystem. I promise you are. Because they can only ever put 90 points on the board on their best day. If you got 3 of those things, you could put 210 points on the board if you're a 70 at some of them. And the thing is, much easier to go from a 70 to an 80 in 3 things than it is to go from a 90 to a 95. Wow. You can create more value by being varied. But the thing is, it can be that, because again, remember, specialization is not the same thing as mastery, and mastery is not necessarily required. Versatility, on the other hand, is very powerful, and it's very rare for people to bother with it. Specialization is rare. Specialization with versatility, also very rare.
So you don't. So that's saying, what is it? Master of none. What is that?
Okay, so the full quote. So the thing is, people always go jack of all trades and a master of none. But here's the full quote: a jack of all trades is a master of none, but still better than a master of one.
Yeah.
And why? Because here's the thing: versatility and adaptive. The world doesn't favor survival of the fittest. It actually favors survival of the most adaptable, the most flexible. Dinosaurs were brutes, but here's the thing: they couldn't adapt to a change in the environment. That's why mammals rose. Okay, that we as humans, we're the most adaptable thing on this planet. We have subverted and manipulated the laws of nature to suit us. We are not.
Wow.
We're not apex predators by nature. We're apex predators by ingenuity, because we don't got poison, we ain't got fangs, we ain't got claws, we ain't got wings. We are we are trashed here, but we excel. We're trashed here on physicality.
Okay.
We excel, however, in our adaptability because we have the ultimate gift, creativity. Creativity lends our ability to conceptualize a solution that doesn't already exist. We are the only creatures that can literally manifest thoughts into things. We literally have a divine tier power set that is granted to us on that level because we're trash at everything else. But that's all we need. That's all we need because we've used that to conquer a planet that is designed to kill us.
That's real, dog. That's real.
That's our power. And think about how many people refuse to use that power to literally change the circumstances of their life. A human being, no different than you, use nothing more than their imagination and their two hands at some point to make a change that is impacting the destiny of people 100 years, 1,000 years after their death. And that same divine power and quality exists in every person that is capable of rational and creative thought. And it's squandered every single minute of every single day. And the thing is, and people don't think that they can change their circumstances without an intervention. When people literally have changed the world, and a lot of them had less than what you have right now.
Yes.
And they grew up in a world where, think about how many people have less than everything we have, even the most broke person in the audience.
Yes.
All the humans who existed, who made all the things that you benefit from today, had less than you. The kings. Even kings are peasants compared to you. If you can hear this program, you're blessed beyond every king that ever lived 100 years before now.
That's crazy.
Because think about
that
it.
mindset. I love what you said. Everything that you have right now means that what they had before, they didn't have what we have now. So we're So
if you go back with the understanding of the knowledge and the power, if you go back with any piece of technology that you have right now, you're essentially God. You're essentially a god. You're a sorcerer. You are literally, compared to the kin of mortal men 200 years ago, a deity by virtue of the future knowledge you have.
It's crazy.
You're now watching Creators on the Come Up, hosted by yours truly, Eliseo.
Sorry, I'm moving stuff and I hit my stream deck, dog. Go ahead.
Yeah.
You take a cell phone back 100 years
right?
ago. That same cell phone, that same ZVE10, right? Or that same ZV1.
Let's even just think about 4 generations back in your own family. There's no way anyone would trade places with any of their ancestors. It's not even close. It's not even close. Think about it. The opportunities that we have today, in terms of our sheer potential to do something, it's not even close.
Yeah.
It's not even a debate.
Yeah.
There's no way. There's no way anybody gives up all of the conveniences, comfort, and resources they have now to go live as a king 500 years ago. There's no way.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Man, that's crazy, man. We are way over.
Yeah.
Let's look at some of these comments. Mr. Camera Junkie said YouTube video editor. That's what he specializes in. 29 years as an ER nurse, Eliseo said.
That's a profession. That's a vocation. That's a calling.
That's a call. Make your vocation your vacation. I heard one time. Man, people always forget the rest of that quote. Thank you for highlighting that. Yeah, and we had Idea said she said she had never heard the full quote, which is the what is it? The master of none.
A jack of all trades is a master of none, but still better than a master of one.
Yeah, still better than a master of one. That's crazy though. Yeah, still better than master of one. So you can know all that.
Imagine being okay with, like, let's look at a toolbox. Would you rather have mastery over one tool in toolbox and no knowledge and ability with any of the other 9 tools, or would you rather be proficient and able to understand and use all 10 tools in a toolbox? What do you think makes you more useful? Because if you're a master of one tool and that one tool is worthless in a situation, now there's 9 situations you have no ability to deal with, and you only have one where, oh yeah, I got that. But if you literally have a basic understanding of every single of the 10 tools, there are more situations that you're equipped to deal with. So
Love
even
that.
literally just in terms of carpentry, just in terms of anything in life, you would be better served having a basic understanding of the 10 tools available to you, because there's these different situations that they all have a purpose for, rather than, it's kind of like that saying, it's like, it's better to have and not need than to need and not have. So imagine, oh wow, I really need to have a basic understanding of these other things, and I have no education about any of them. I don't know what to do at all here. And it's like, versus, oh, I have that knowledge, but when would I ever need it? And then the random circumstance, thank God I have that knowledge.
And it totally saves lives, literally.
It literally does.
Man, that's crazy. Man, we had an amazing time. We're like over, man.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No, you're good. I want to be respectful of your time. Like, you're a gem and a true gift to the creator community, including myself. So I appreciate you just, taking on the call to come on the show. I really appreciate that. We're going to go ahead and wrap this up. If you have anything that you guys want to say to Roberto, or any questions or comments, please leave them now. I put my link up, but maybe nobody's in a position where they can jump on the stream. Sometimes I let people jump on the live stream, and then they just say what they have to say to you or ask any questions. If anybody, I say it's 10:38 right now. Would you be cool with going to 11 if somebody wanted to jump on? That's what, 20 minutes?
I can take questions from the chat for like another 5.
All right, cool.
Have those.
So if you have questions, put your questions in the chat. We'll go to 10:45 here, so that's about 7 minutes away.
Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah, and then we'll get off. But everybody's like, Sister's talking. I don't think I've ever seen her on my stream before. So thank you. Welcome to the stream. Eliseo is Alan chiming in. I'm not sure what that means.
She's saying that her name is she's saying her name.
Oh,
because she's using her alias Sister's talking.
Oh, okay.
That's her channel name, and then she's just telling you who she is.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, that's funny because my family calls me Ali,Ally. So, everybody put their they put their what they specialize in. Brent says he's a black belt, Aikido.
In Aikido.
Aikido. Sorry,
it's a martial art way of harmony.
Sweet.
It's a martial art that's used mostly for true self-defense and redirecting the attack of the opponent rather than trying to directly.
That don't sound like nerd talk right there. That sounds like some real man stuff.
No, it's like I'm a different kind of nerd. I grew up a different kind of nerd. Like I grew up, my nerdy friends, we were sitting there playing video games, anime, and reading comic books. We also were breakdancing, doing martial arts, doing Fight Club, and going to the shooting range.
You're a different kind of nerd, my guy. Definitely. Says humans were almost extinct many times, but we survived. Creativity is what did it.
Facts.
Yeah, man. It's a question here. Any advice for personal finance channel in the credit community from Credit Dave?
So starting out, a lot of it would come down to, in general, research. In general, I think a lot of it would come down to research. And also knowing like what things most people relate to on that. A lot of people, as far as the credit niche is, it's again, they want perfect credit score, but they also have bad credit. But it's also, you could also really dive into like some news a little bit and use what's the current administration doing about certain credit rules and changes. You could borrow that from what people did with the stimulus. And a lot of people were smart. They tapped into stimulus, student loans, and tax changes during the pandemic. And that's built out a niche. So you could tap into, well, are there new changes to the credit score? Are there new changes to things that the Biden administration is going to do that impacts your credit score? And it lets you make a face, and you could put Biden's face in the thumbnail and scold him, like, or be like shocked at his, like, or mad at him. And that would do it. And because you can now use news, and like a lot of people know what the president looks like. So now you're taking advantage of that. Helps you on the homepage of the algorithm. And that's a smart move. Another one is you could also do.
Bless you.
Excuse me. Thank you. You could also react to finance TikTok, and people love dunking on finance TikTok, and explain all these people who are talking about credit that are wrong about it. And it's not for you to pick on them or be mean to them. It's just that people will be wildly entertained by that, and that can at least get you attention, and then they'll watch your more meaningful content. Obviously, you want to tell people about the credit score algorithms. You want to tell them about FICO 9, FICO 8. You want to tell them about the credit for buying a house, credit for you know, you want to explain these things, but you also need a really good headline. So again, I would look at that. I'd even look at what a lot of these media publications are writing about whenever they write about credit, because they literally make money and they have to reach millions of people. So I would look at their headlines and then start to think about how to write a better headline than them.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to research for you.
There's a lot to be said too with just what I tell people. You know, I feel weird saying this, but I kind of like help YouTube coach other smaller channels, and what I tell them, like, when we have our
don't
first,
feel weird about that. There's nothing wrong.
It's just weird though, but you know. But yeah, so when they come to me, I'm like, listen, you know, we have our first coaching session. I always tell them, look, on our next session, I want you to come back with like at least 10 other channels that like you, that in your niche, that are doing well. And so we can look at what they're doing, because it's a lot to be said about just kind of reverse engineering what they're doing on. Also,
if you're a small channel, just find a channel, find a video, find a video on a topic you want to talk about, qualify the topic. Qualify, is there anything that got over 1 million views on that? Here's why.
Yes.
You get 1% of their outcome.
Yes.
You're a small channel. 10,000 views is a lot for you. So even if you got 1% of their outcome, use 1 million views on a topic to qualify the topic, and write a different, slightly better, punchier headline than they did, and make your own thumbnail. Don't copy theirs, but like say, okay, I've qualified the topic. Now I have to outdo them on the title, or change 2 or 3 words here or there. And I have to make my own thumbnail that's as good or better or more clickable than this.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to do a different face or a different pose or a different thing, my own colors, blah, blah, blah. But I'm going to use what's already working here, but make it my own. Yeah. And that's what I would do, is because you don't got to reinvent the wheel. If this got 1 million views and you get 1% of that, you're a small channel. 10,000's a lot.
Yeah. Facts. Yeah, just I heard someone say, redo that video better, faster, and more efficient, with more updated information, with better title and thumbnail. And
yes,
bam.
facts.
There you
One-upsmanship is the key.
He said what's the saying where it's like something good artists steal or something like that? Borrow and good artists steal. Bad artists borrow and good artists steal, or something like that.
Good, it's literally, it's like good artists borrow, great artists steal.
Yeah, something like that. So yeah, when it comes to YouTube, the telltale signs are there. Like, you know, like I always use the analogy back in the day before internet, like, you know, the analogy where like you got lost in the woods and it's like you left breadcrumbs to find your way back. But when the internet came, my analogy is now you don't have breadcrumbs. You literally have whole dinner tables full of food. Just go eat, right? The information is there. Like, just go sit down and start eating.
There's only so many things. The only things that the information doesn't exist around is literally things that just haven't existed very long. Yeah. Like, that's even why the creator economy stuff, it's like there's a lot of work in discovering and figuring things out, and things are always changing. And this has been around, this has been normalized rather. Yeah. And scalable and accessible for less than 20 years for most people. For most people. Yes. It's been around for centuries. It wasn't accessible and it wasn't profitable.
Yes. I say that all the time too. I spoke at Video Marketing World. I said what we're doing is essentially really new. Like everybody in this room right now, you're older than the concept that we're trying to accomplish, that we're accomplishing right now. You know,
you're older than the platforms you're playing on.
Yeah, exactly. So like, don't let them boss you, like boss them. Like, man, well, we're coming down to 20 seconds. I want to take this last 15 seconds to say thank you, sir. Thank you, bro. I appreciate you. Anything you need from me, which probably would never be anything, feel free to reach out.
I always love you supporting and like thank you for retweets because like they're hard to come by. Like
retweets,
drop a comment on every video you see and like because that always helps. Like and thank you for having me.
Yeah, if you don't, I took it off, man. If you don't, where is this at? Well, I don't even know. Do you like people going to your channel and subscribing, Roberto? I know some creators.
I mean,
like
I'll take it.
Yeah.
No, I'll take it as long as they're going to watch videos. It's like, as long as you're going to watch videos, go do that. I'd love support on the podcast channel, and you can definitely listen to the podcast. Let's end it with
what you have going on so we know how to support. How can we support you, brother?
I mean, the main thing is because, I mean, not everyone has like, you know,